What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you episode 3 in the Blabbermouth Sister-in-Law Entitled People series. At the end of last episode, we were left waiting for Blabbermouth's court case. However, just a couple of weeks after that post was created, something happened. And as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, it's not good. So without further ado, let's jump straight into this next post from the 2nd of July, 2021. I've actually got 5 posts for you in this episode. So lock in, subscribe to the channel, let's go. Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. This has to be a joke. A full-on, absurd, you've got to be kidding me kind of joke. Let's start with joke number 1. I think someone has figured out where we live. Last Sunday, we woke up to find that the tyres on both of our cars had been slashed. All of them. As if that wasn't enough, there was some delightful artwork carved into the sides of both cars. Deep scratches, absolutely intentional. Just standing there looking at the damage, I had one of those surreal moments where your brain just refuses to process what your eyes are seeing. So, what did little old me and my husband do? If you guessed, check the security footage, you're absolutely right. Our cars are parked several streets over from the house, part of the long list of security precautions we've taken. They're equipped with dash cams that run 24/7. This wasn't paranoia, it was preparation. We popped out the memory cards, replaced the cameras with backups, and sat down to watch the footage. We saved everything, made duplicates, and then watched to see who the heck would be stupid enough to do this. If you guessed Blabbermouth, surprise, it wasn't her. It was one of my husband's cousins. Yes, that cousin. The one who told me I should bow down to the will of the family and that my husband needed to get his woman under control. The same one who's been hounding us with text messages trying to justify why he deserved a college fund, a house deposit, and who knows what else. That cousin. So we did what anyone would do. We called the police. And we didn't just hand over the footage, we included stills, printed photos, screenshots of the cousin's social media, his home address, phone number, and email, every last detail. Because when someone damages your property and threatens your sense of safety, you don't half-step, you go all in. After that, my husband called his mother to ask, gently but firmly, if there was any chance she had accidentally revealed our address. She said no, and my father-in-law backed her up. They're now both racking their brains, trying to remember if they might have mentioned something in passing to the wrong person at the wrong time. I reached out to my family as well. They're combing through their own recent conversations, just in case something was said without realizing the consequences. Everyone's on alert now. And then, joke number 2. Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law have filed a lawsuit. Yep, you heard that correctly. They filed a lawsuit against me and, to a certain extent, against my husband too. You'll never guess what they're claiming. Actually, you probably will. Defamation. They're claiming that all the drama that's fallen on their heads is my fault. That I went around the town gossip chain, spreading malicious lies and turning people against them. According to them, I've destroyed their standing in the community, made them social outcasts, and now they want compensation for their ruined reputation. And to show just how reasonable they are, they're offering to settle just to keep it out of court. The kicker, the one who actually did the talking, was Blabbermouth's own mother. Yep, her. My mother-in-law was so upset and disappointed about everything that had happened that she told the truth to friends, neighbors, basically everyone. And now, Blabbermouth's real enemy is reality. When we showed the letter to my lawyer, he literally laughed out loud, like full-on cackling. He's already working on our official response and having the time of his life doing it. When I read the letter myself, I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. Honestly, I felt both. Angry because of the sheer audacity, but also amused at how pathetic this latest move was. This is what Blabbermouth is resorting to now? A Hail Mary lawsuit? Very well then, game on. She wants to play dirty, she's going to meet someone with a better lawyer, stronger evidence, and the stamina to see this through. Bring it. So, who else's jaw just dropped to the bottom of the ocean? Wow, defamation. Incredible. To be honest, I don't think I'm actually that surprised. It just seems like the sort of thing that Blabbermouth would do. I'm just very sorry that, it's only been a couple of weeks since you've moved, right? Or a month or so at most. And already your husband's family know where you live. That's just terrible. Like, you were so against the idea of moving in the first place. I think you then came around to the fact that maybe it was the right thing to do, but now that they know where you live, it's like, was it even worth it? All that effort for what? Yeah, I know you're closer to your family now, whatever, and you are further away from them in theory, and not everybody knows about your situation, but it's just tough. It's just tough. But there we go. That is the first of 5 posts in this episode. Let's get into the second to see what happens next. All right, 6 days later, we got a small update on the cousin and the lawsuit. I've got a small update, both on the cousin who decided to take his frustrations out on our cars, and also on the lawsuit that Blabbermouth tried to throw at us. Let's start with the cousin. From what we've heard, he's either lost his job or is in deep trouble at work. Apparently, his boss found out about the vandalism, the fact that he slashed our tyres and scratched up both cars, and that it was all caught on camera. I've got no idea how the boss got wind of it, and honestly, I don't care. What I do know is that his boss is not happy. At all. We've been hearing 2 different versions of events from the family members who don't have a no contact order against us. Some say he was fired, others say he's on the verge of it. What I know for sure is that his little stunt has made things very unpleasant for him at work. We now also have a temporary no contact order in place against him. The damages to the cars are scheduled to be fixed in about 2 weeks. He's been informed of the total cost of the damage, and no, the insurance isn't covering any of it. Turns out, when you're the one who deliberately destroys someone's property, the insurance company politely declines to save you, so he'll be paying for everything out of pocket. Oh, and he'll be seeing the inside of a courtroom, either in August or September. Can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also not losing sleep over it. We also found out how he located our cars. Apparently, one of his friends lives in the same neighborhood we moved to. We had no idea. The cousin told his friends his version of events, probably a very dramatic, heavily edited one, and the friend recognized us and mentioned it to him. I wonder what that friend thinks now after seeing what the cousin did. And now, let's talk about the lawsuit. So first off, my dear friend, my lawyer, received his usual batch of cookies and loved them. Priorities, right? Now, onto the real news. My lawyer responded to Blabbermouth's lawyer's initial threats by sending over a lovely little bundle of texts, voicemails, and emails. Evidence, in other words. Along with that, he included a very clear note stating that if Blabbermouth didn't drop the lawsuit, we would countersue and seek damages of our own. And guess what? It turns out there were people wondering whether Blabbermouth had lied to her lawyer. Spoiler alert, of course she did. She told a whole slew of lies, made up an entire narrative, and even went so far as to fabricate evidence to support her claims. My lawyer spotted the fake stuff immediately. Her lawyer, however, was not amused. After reviewing what my lawyer sent back and realizing what kind of client he was dealing with, he dropped Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law as clients. Oh, how I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. The moment their lawyer sat her down and told her, yeah, no, I'm done. It must have been glorious. Now I'm left half wondering what she's going to try next. Honestly, part of me wants to grab some popcorn and a soda, because whatever's coming is bound to be a show. And let's not waste any time here, guys. Let's get straight in to the next post. How my entitled cousin met Frou Frou. Okay, maybe we'll have to wait a little bit to hear what happens next with Blabbermouth herself. Hey people, I have another update on my entitled cousin. He's the douche canoe who said I should bend to the will of the family. Honestly, I'm out of ideas for a better nickname at this point. Our lawyer friend is also part of this little episode. We're still waiting for the court date, but apparently some new charges are being added to the list alongside vandalism and destruction of property. It's worth mentioning as well that this post came a few days after the previous one on August the 13th, so actually a couple of weeks after. Anyway, my entitled cousin didn't slash our tires or scratch our cars this time. So, progress? Well, instead he got the pleasure of meeting Frou Frou, our neighbour's dog, and our neighbour himself. Since it's summer, my husband and I decided to take another local holiday. With COVID still being a factor, we didn't feel comfortable travelling abroad to our holiday home. We're vaccinated, but the kids aren't yet, so we figured a domestic trip was the safer call. It turned out to be a great choice. The kids got to hit the pool a few times. We had to make reservations and made friends with other kids. Overall, it was a lovely time. Then, halfway through the holiday, I get a call from my little big brother. He's younger, but taller than me, and he tells me that the entitled cousin has been arrested again. This time, he actually found our home, and you'll never guess what he tried to pull. No, he didn't throw rocks through the windows, no graffiti either. Mr. Smarty Pants decided he was going to break in. Our backyard is surrounded by a high wooden fence. The way it's built makes it really hard to climb. But my entitled cousin showed up in the dead of night or early morning with a ladder, propped it up against the fence, and climbed into our backyard, tools in hand, trying to break in through the back door. Good luck with that. Our place is locked down like Fort Knox. Now, here's where it gets brilliant. Our neighbor walks his dog Frou Frou first thing in the morning, every morning. Everyone in the neighborhood knows them and loves them. Our neighbor has a bit of a reputation for catching people where they shouldn't be, and he knows we weren't home. So when he sees a random ladder leaning against our fence, he immediately knows something's up. He hears noise in the backyard and realizes someone's trying to break in. So what does he do? He helps Frou Frou climb the ladder and drop into the yard. Frou Frou, by the way, is not some dainty little fluffball. He's a cane corso. Big, strong, and protective. Sweet dog, but don't mess with him. The neighbor's wife named him after the little dog footstool from Beauty and the Beast, which makes the whole thing even better. So here comes this massive, trained dog dropping into our backyard like a furry security system. My entitled cousin, in all his brilliance, decides to throw some tools at Frou Frou, which unsurprisingly doesn't go over well. Frou Frou barks, then charges. My cousin barely manages to climb up onto a table before Frou Frou gets to him. The dog doesn't bite. He's trained not to unless commanded, but he definitely made it clear my cousin wasn't going anywhere. Meanwhile, my neighbor's standing on the ladder, listening to my cousin scream like a child, and calls the police. My cousin got hauled off in the back of a squad car and will be staying in jail until his hearing. My lawyer pushed hard for that. It turns out the no contact order we already had wasn't enough to keep my entitled cousin away, so now we're pushing for more. We sent all the footage to the authorities, and Frou Frou got a bunch of well-deserved doggy snacks. My neighbor and his wife got a proper thank you from us too. And I'll be honest, when we got home and the kids were offered a sleepover, my husband and I poured ourselves a drink, grabbed some popcorn, and re-watched the security footage. It was gold. We watched it again and again, and yes, we laughed hard, because sometimes karma barks. I mean, I know I've titled this series really Blabbermouth Sister-in-Law, as in she is the most important person in this series, and I think that is still true up to this point, but goodness me, this entitled cousin is really going about trying his hardest to become the number one antagonist in this story. Breaking into somebody's house? What are you doing? And also, what are you even trying to achieve? Like, once he's broken in there, what's the objective? I don't really understand it. Maybe like try and destroy some evidence against him and Blabbermouth? I don't know. If you've got any ideas, jump in the comments down below and let me know. But yeah, this guy is really pushing to be the number one sort of villain in this story. All right, now on to the next post. And how about this for a sad title? And now my own extended family knows as well. My own extended family found out that I have money as well. I don't have many aunts and uncles left, but I do have plenty of cousins, mostly on my dad's side. He had 6 sisters, and they all had children. Out of all of them, only 4 cousins are younger than I am. I've not spoken to most of them in 20 years. The only contact I've had with them was at the occasional funeral. I have no real relationship with them, and it's been that way for decades. So, imagine my joy when I started getting messages from these long-lost cousins who had heard from various people that I have money. As soon as I read those messages, I mentally braced myself for another trash storm. And yep, they were annoyed. They wanted to know why I never told anyone. One of them even went off in full rant mode, raging about how unfair it was, that I could have let them know, and on and on and on. When she finally finished, I asked, maybe a bit too bluntly, if she was done so I could explain. I made a group chat and wrote out the entire story of what's been happening with the rest of this family. I laid everything out clearly, honestly, and at the end, I finished with the words, "This is why I never told you." Bold, underlined, huge letters. Several of them were shocked that this stuff had actually happened. I asked them directly, why were they upset I didn't tell them? Nobody really answered that at first, until I said maybe it's because they were hoping to benefit from it. Suddenly, there were a lot of, no way, and how can you think that of us responses. I told them the truth, that after everything I've been through, after all the lies and attacks, I've lost a lot of trust in people. That's just the way it is now. To cut to the chase, a couple of them asked if they could get some money. Not borrow, get. Others said they'd be interested in a loan if that was possible, so I uploaded the document that I signed with my certified loan cousin. I told them those were the rules. They could read it or not, but if they wanted to borrow, that's the standard. Then one cousin messaged and asked if I could call him. I did. He told me his daughter is severely ill. I'm not going to name the illness for privacy, but without treatment, she's likely to die. There's a specific treatment in the US that might help. The chances are slim, but if it works, she could survive and have a decent quality of life. The issue? The treatment isn't covered by insurance. After everything I've been through, I didn't trust the story right away, so I asked for details. He invited me to visit, so I did. His daughter was in the hospital, and he hadn't lied. God, that girl. She's in her early 20s, but the room looked like something out of a trauma ward. Tubes, monitors, books scattered on the bed as she tried to do homework. I swear I could almost see death standing next to her, waiting. She was so brave. We talked, and later her attending doctor came in to speak with me. He gave me a basic explanation and then invited me to his office, where he gave me the full picture. I went home afterwards and verified everything: his name, his credentials, his medical speciality. I spoke to my cousin again over the phone. I told him I hadn't made a decision yet, and I asked if the money was only needed for medical costs. He said yes. His wife, the girl's mother, would travel to the US with her, and they had just enough saved to cover those expenses. It would be tight, but they were only asking for help with the treatment cost. My husband and I talked, and after everything, we agreed to help. But, under strict conditions, we would only pay the exact amount given to us by the US hospital, no extras. The money would be paid directly to the hospital, not to them. We also added one final request, that whether the treatment succeeded or failed, they would commit to donating a small amount, over time if needed, towards further research for the illness. My lawyer drew up the contracts and had another lawyer, one who specializes in medical law, review it. I called my cousin again. I told him I had thoroughly investigated everything. I explained that I've been lied to, manipulated, attacked, and I've lost trust in most people. I thanked him for being honest through it all and said I knew how hard this must be. Then I asked if his wife was with him. She wasn't, but he put me on speaker so she could hear. And that's when I told them. They both started crying, thanking me over and over. I explained that there would be very strict terms, and I sent them a draft of the agreement. I told them to have their own lawyer, or the hospital's legal team, review it thoroughly. If they agreed, we'd move forward. Later, their daughter called me too. Same reaction. She thanked me again and again. I just hope this time the money really does make a difference. Her doctor also contacted me, and we're in the process of arranging payment once the contract is signed. As for the rest of my family, some of them tried the greedy grab hands approach. My answer was simple: no. I gave them the number of the investment advisor I used, and I told them good luck. Then I blocked the beggars. I'm not worried about any of them finding out where I live. My parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law could win a tight lip contest with an oyster. Yeah, I think it's just quickly worth pointing out that obviously OP doesn't mean Blabbermouth here, her other sister-in-law, but her brother's wife. Two very different people, it sounds like. I do just want to say though, when you hear about a family like this, a person like this, who needs the money so much, or has such a clear use for the money to save someone's life potentially, and then you compare that to OP's husband's side of the family, who are literally just asking for money for luxury items or just for their life or whatever, just to have more money. And also, to be fair, some of OP's cousins as well, it seems like here. It's just like that sort of juxtaposition is so sad. You've got people that are like desperate, they give anything for that money. Then you've got other people who are like, oh, just give it to me, I just want it. It's like, if only they knew what that money could be used for. Say, for example, that OP had actually given loads of money to her husband's side of the family just because she was a nice person and was like, oh, I've got loads of money, whatever. Or, maybe she just felt pressured into it or something, or the threats had gotten to her. Anything could have happened there. Imagine she actually gave away like the majority of her money to people that didn't need it. And then on her side of the family, she gets this call. And somebody, a 20-year-old girl in her 20s, is about to pass away. And she doesn't now have the money to give her that surgery that could have saved her life. How terrible is that? It's absolutely insane. And also, I say what I say just there in terms of the people not realizing what that money could be used for. They must realize. Maybe they're just so obtuse that they don't know. But if you're getting money from someone else just to use on luxury items when there are other people in the world that are struggling, then, what does that say about you as a person? We already know the answer, but it's a disgrace. Anyway, there is one more post to come in this episode. It's an update to what I've just read. Let's get into it. It's simply titled an update. Now, this was actually posted quite a while after the previous post. The previous post was in August. This one is almost at the end of the year, the end of November. So what's that? August, September, October, November. 3 months later, right? Quite a while. Anyway, here we go. I have an update once more on the whole saga. I don't know if more updates will follow, but if something happens, I'll post here. The good news is that most family members have stopped bothering me and my husband. Our eldest has a social media account that we go through together, and he's received a few nasty messages through it. He blocked the senders, reported them, and thanks to our dear lawyer friend who sent out a few letters, it's gotten relatively quiet again. Those without a no contact order in place have started reaching out more often. People that my husband or I haven't spoken to in years suddenly want to check in. We keep it polite and pleasant, but we're keeping our distance too. No illusions here. The entitled cousin had to pay several fines, cover the damages, and he's now on 2 years of probation. At one point, he tried to threaten us again. We just told him that Frou would be more than happy to see him again. Blabbermouth now knows which town we live in. The entitled cousin seems to have told her. We've seen her around, but so far she's kept her distance, probably due to the no contact order. We're hoping it stays that way. Now, for the bad news. It's about my cousin's daughter, the one who was ill. Now, she was eventually allowed to return home for a while. It required a lot of equipment, medication, and effort, but everyone was so happy she could spend time at home. Since the pandemic began, she had been quarantining and rarely went out. Same for her dad and mum. They barely allowed any visitors, and when they did, their older children would quarantine, test beforehand, and wear masks while visiting. They took every precaution seriously because they were told that COVID could be deadly for her. When they did need to go out, they chose quiet times and empty places. They signed up for a grocery delivery service, and the driver, bless his heart, learned about their situation. He started disinfecting everything, wearing masks even when just dropping bags at the door. He wiped handles, crates, and bags. The dad and mum were both working from home full time. It was exhausting, but they did it for their daughter. I'll cut the story short. Their daughter died. She contracted COVID, and due to her already fragile immune system, she passed away. She didn't get it from her parents or siblings. They were testing regularly just to be sure. The likely source, a relative of her mum. This man didn't take COVID seriously. He went somewhere, developed symptoms, and only got tested because his boss wouldn't let him return to the job site without a negative result. He tested positive. Health services gave him instructions. His boss did too. He was told to quarantine and he would still be paid during that time. Around the same time, the girl's dad and mum noticed some wet spots on the wall next to her room. Figuring there was a leak, they called this relative for help. They explained the situation, made it clear how fragile their daughter's condition was, and asked him to take all precautions. He told them he'd tested negative. Maybe he thought that since he wasn't working, this was a good way to make some extra cash. While working, he of course had to go into their daughter's room. He took his mask off several times, complaining it was hot, that he needed air. He was reminded again and again to put it back on. Eventually, the dad and mum asked him to leave and not return. The work wasn't finished, but they didn't care anymore. The leak had been found and patched temporarily. A few days later, the daughter got very sick and had to be rushed to the hospital. She tested positive for COVID. She didn't make it. Devastated doesn't even begin to cover it. Her dad called me a few days later, crying. I knew what had happened the moment I heard his voice. In the background, I could hear her mum screaming. She was calling that relative, the one who came to help, and he admitted he had tested positive at the time. The dad ended the call with me quickly and went to deal with the situation. I don't know exactly what happened afterwards, but I was told that the mum screamed at him, cursed him out, tore into him for lying, knowing full well what was at stake. We were invited to the online funeral service. My husband and I both attended. We sent flowers and a card. That was almost 2 months ago now. Last night, the dad video called. He's a shell of a man, still shattered by the loss of his only daughter. His wife, well, she's not doing well either. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see them like that. We talked briefly about the funds. They thanked us again and said they'd like the money to go towards research. We agreed, of course. It was the least we could do. So, that is the update. Sooner than I would have liked and not with the news I'd hoped to share. Stay safe, everyone. I hope you all have a good and above all, healthy holiday season. Oh my goodness, what a terribly sad ending to that post. Yeah, unexpected, not the way I was expecting this story to go, just shocking, sort of like brings me right back to the hard times that were that COVID period, and yeah, it reminds me of how many people lost loved ones. Just incredibly sad. And again, I think it kind of adds to the point I was making after reading the previous post. Just, you've got people that are suffering so much in the world, like this girl in her 20s who passed away. And then on the other hand, you have entitled people who are like, give me money, I want it. And it's like, that is just ridiculous. But yeah, look, I feel very, very bad, obviously. I mean, you don't have the words to explain how terrible you feel for that girl's family. Her parents lost their only daughter. Shocking. It's just strange that on the one hand, you have people like that exist. And on the other, you have horrible entitled people who will stop at nothing to get money that they've never even earned. Ridiculous. But anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. A tragic end, but you know, I'm not leaving anything out from this story. Everything's getting covered, and that clearly is a major part of it. So yeah, super tough, but there we go. I will catch you on the next one.